California, the land of endless sunshine, booming startups, and sky-high ambitions, is beginning to fracture beneath its glossy surface. Behind the palm trees and oceanfront perfection, a quiet storm is gathering strength, shaking the foundation of the state's once invincible housing empire. Home prices are slipping, only about 5 to 10% on paper, yet every signal is screaming danger. Inventories are piling up, affordability has collapsed, and the insurance market is in disarray. Iconic billion-dollar real estate hubs like San Francisco, San Diego, and Orange County are watching their values drain away, while inland towns buckle under the weight of debt and overdevelopment. This isn't a gentle market correction, it's a ticking clock. The very dream that made California shimmer is starting to unravel, piece by piece, street by street, home by home. The Golden State isn't just bending under pressure anymore, it's beginning to break. Number 10. Sacramento. Sacramento, California's understated capital, has long served as a refuge for Bay Area residents looking to escape sky-high prices. But that long-standing illusion of affordability is quickly fading. Over the past year, home prices have dipped between 3 to 5%, depending on the neighborhood, a modest slide on paper, yet one that conceals much deeper cracks forming beneath the surface. It's not a total freefall just yet, but the warning signs surrounding the market couldn't be clearer. Inventory has exploded. Listings have surged by nearly 70% year over year, marking the steepest rise since the 2008 financial crash. Properties that once vanished in bidding wars now linger for 50 to 70 days, and price-reduced signs are popping up everywhere. Sellers are cutting an average of $25,000 simply to attract offers. With mortgage rates hovering around 7.3%, buyer confidence has collapsed. Sacramento's median household income, about $82,000, no longer covers the weight of $3,000 monthly mortgage payments, rising utilities, and ballooning insurance premiums. And those insurance costs, they've become the tipping point. Homes near wildfire-prone zones around Sacramento have seen premiums skyrocket by over 90% since 2020. Many homeowners are being pushed into the state's FAIR plan, where they pay nearly double for a fraction of their previous coverage. Add in California's hefty 1.25% property tax rate, and even longtime residents are quietly deciding it's time to sell. The rental market isn't offering much relief either. Once scorching hot, demand has cooled noticeably. Rents are down about 5% since mid-2024, as remote workers and tech employees flee to more affordable states like Texas and Idaho. Downtown office spaces now sit empty, with commercial vacancy rates topping 30%, and suburban plazas are once again littered with for-lease signs. Foreclosures remain relatively low by national standards, but Sacramento has seen a 35% increase since late 2023, marking the first serious signs of stress in the system. So while on the surface the numbers suggest only a mild 3 to 5% correction, the reality paints a darker picture: slowing demand, mounting debt, punishing taxes, and collapsing affordability. Sacramento isn't in a full-blown crash yet, but it's quietly bleeding from every angle. And in California's economic story, those flashing red lights have always appeared well before the ground gives way. Number 9. San Ramon. San Ramon once embodied the dream of California's upper-middle class, picture-perfect neighborhoods. Teslas lined up in driveways, and financial security built on the Bay Area's booming tech economy. But behind that polished exterior, cracks are starting to spread. On the surface, prices appear stable, only down about 4%, but the deeper signals tell a far more troubling story. Inventory has doubled in just a year. Homes are lingering 60 to 90 days on the market, and the same open houses that once drew frenzied bidding wars now sit eerily quiet. The real issue is affordability, or rather, the collapse of it. San Ramon's median home value sits around $1.45 million, an impossible stretch for families earning roughly $160,000 a year. With mortgage rates above 7%, monthly payments hover near $8,000, before even factoring in insurance and property taxes, which can easily add another $1,200 to $500. For many dual-income families, that's where the math breaks. As a result, the exodus is on. Families are cashing out while they can, and relocating to states like Nevada, Texas, and Idaho, where homes cost half as much and property taxes are a fraction of California's. Meanwhile, new construction projects, once snapped up months before completion, are now offering $50,000 incentives, free upgrades, and desperate marketing to lure hesitant buyers. Even the rental market is softening. Hybrid work has thinned out daily commuter populations, leaving once scarce luxury apartments sitting partially empty. Vacancy rates in Class A complexes have climbed to 12 to 15%, the highest since 2010. Corporate stability isn't immune either. Chevron's quiet relocation of its headquarters workforce cut a major artery of local spending. Small businesses, the restaurants, cafes, and boutiques that thrived on professional traffic, are now seeing sales drop 15 to 20%, a blow echoed in the city's 2025 revenue forecasts, which already show a deficit fueled by declining property transfer taxes. Insurance is the final gut punch. Since 2020, premiums have soared by 70%, driven by wildfire risks edging closer to the East Bay foothills. Combine that with rising costs, longer listing times, and shrinking buyer pools, and the writing is on the wall. San Ramon's prices might only show a 4% dip today, but every metric from inventory to income strain is flashing red. The city isn't collapsing yet, but it's holding its breath in a room slowly filling with smoke. Number 8. Placentia. Nestled in northern Orange County, Placentia has long been admired for its quiet suburban charm, the kind of place where families settle in for stability and calm. But that calm is beginning to show cracks. Beneath the surface, a slow unraveling has begun. On paper, home prices have only fallen 5 to 7%, but that modest dip conceals a much steeper decline in market health. Buyer traffic has plunged nearly 40%, and the number of homes sitting unsold for over 45 days has more than doubled. During the pandemic boom, Placentia's median home price soared past $950,000, far exceeding what the average local household, earning around $115,000, can realistically afford. With today's mortgage rates, even a 20% down payment still leaves buyers facing monthly costs north of $6,000, once you factor in taxes and insurance. For most, that's a financial dead end. The once frenzied market is now eerily quiet. Homes that used to attract 10 or more offers often receive none at all. Sellers are trimming prices, slashing anywhere from $30,000 just to stay competitive. Local real estate agents admit it openly. The bidding war era is over. The rental market tells a similar story. Rents have fallen about 5% as younger tenants flee to Riverside County or leave California altogether in search of affordability. Several new condo developments are now delaying completion due to tightening financing and weak pre-sales, a clear sign that investor confidence is fading. Meanwhile, the cost of ownership keeps climbing. Property taxes are rising, and homeowners are seeing their insurance premiums jump by nearly 80% since 2020. The city's economy is also showing signs of fatigue. Retail vacancies along Yorba Linda Boulevard are up, and small businesses are struggling with declining foot traffic. Even the strong local school system can't stop the quiet migration. Families are moving to cheaper neighboring counties. Adding to the strain, Anaheim's slowing tourism industry, once a source of regional stability, is bleeding jobs, with hotel and hospitality layoffs rippling into nearby communities like Placentia. So while the headlines may only show a 5 to 7% dip in prices, the real story runs deeper: collapsing demand, vanishing affordability, and a fading sense of economic momentum. Placentia's housing market now mirrors the uneasy calm of early 2007, a surface that looks steady, masking fractures below. And when the next financial tremor hits, this quiet Orange County suburb may feel the shock more sharply than anyone expects. Number 7. Visalia. In the heart of California's Central Valley, Visalia once stood as the ultimate symbol of attainable living. Wide streets, brand new homes priced under $400,000, and a strong family-friendly community. But in 2025, that picture of stability is fading fast. At first glance, the numbers don't look catastrophic. Prices are only down 5 to 7%, but nearly every major metric beneath the surface signals distress. Inventory has doubled since early 2024, while pending sales have collapsed by almost 45%. Mortgage applications in Tulare County have hit a 12-year low, and homes that used to sell in weeks now sit for 80 days or more on the market. Even local builders, once operating at full throttle, are pumping the brakes. They're now offering steep incentives, covering closing costs and discounting homes by $25,000 or more just to keep projects moving. Visalia's economy, built largely on agriculture, the region's lifeblood, is under mounting strain. Years of drought, climbing operational expenses, and tighter margins have triggered farm layoffs, which in turn ripple through the housing market, lowering household incomes and driving up distressed sales. With a median household income around $68,000, the math no longer works. Mortgage rates hovering near 7% and insurance premiums up 60% since 2020 have made even modest homes increasingly out of reach. What was once California's affordable alternative is quickly losing that title. The rental market is feeling the pinch too. Vacancies have climbed to 10%, forcing landlords to cut rents to stay competitive, all while maintenance costs, utilities, and insurance continue rising faster than rental income. Meanwhile, local banks are seeing a jump in delinquencies, and early-stage foreclosures are up 25% from last year, the first meaningful spike in over a decade. Visalia's seemingly mild 5 to 7% dip hides a harsher truth: momentum is collapsing. Job growth has stalled. consumer spending is weakening, and the Central Valley's long-touted affordability advantage is slipping away. But perhaps the most telling sign isn't economic, it's emotional. You can feel the fatigue in the community. Families, landlords, and small builders are stretched thin, trying to stay afloat in a tightening vice of debt, inflation, and dwindling opportunity. If California's broader housing downturn continues to deepen, Visalia may be one of the first inland cities to crack under the pressure, not because of a sudden crash, but because the slow, steady weight of exhaustion finally becomes too heavy to bear. Number 6. San Diego. Once celebrated as the jewel of Southern California, a place of endless sunshine, ocean breezes, and laid-back luxury, San Diego is now flashing warning signals across every housing indicator. The city that once seemed immune to downturns is quietly slipping into dangerous territory. Officially, prices are only down about 5%, but beneath that calm surface lies a much deeper instability. The median home price hovers around $875,000, an impossible stretch for the average household earning $97,000 a year. At today's 7% mortgage rates, that translates to monthly payments of roughly $5,500 before insurance and property taxes, a burden that's now overwhelming even for high-income professionals. Inventory has surged 65% year over year, and homes are taking an average of 53 days to sell, compared to the lightning-fast bidding wars of 2021. Nearly 42% of listings have seen at least one price reduction, clear proof that buyers are backing away. The frenzy is gone, replaced by hesitation and caution. Then there's the insurance crisis. Premiums in Southern California's coastal areas have soared 85% since 2020, and several carriers have stopped issuing new policies entirely, citing wildfire and storm risks. For many homeowners, that's the tipping point. Rising premiums are eating into budgets already stretched to the limit. Even the rental market, once a refuge from the city's sky-high home prices, is showing weakness. Rents have dropped around 6% from their 2023 peak as more residents pack up and move inland to Riverside County or out of state in search of affordability. Meanwhile, the construction sector is losing steam. Developers are pausing or canceling new projects as credit tightens and pre-sales stall. The broader economy is also starting to feel the strain. Layoffs in biotech and defense industries are rippling through the workforce, while tourism, one of San Diego's lifelines, is softening under the weight of global inflation. Downtown, office vacancies exceed 30%, leaving storefronts empty and small businesses struggling to survive. From La Jolla's cliffs to Chula Vista's suburbs, San Diego still looks idyllic, golden beaches, palm-lined streets, and postcard sunsets. But behind the view, the financial foundations are cracking. A 5% price decline might not sound like much, yet when combined with collapsing affordability, job uncertainty, and runaway insurance costs, the picture turns ominous. San Diego's legendary sunshine still glows, but it's starting to cast a longer, darker economic shadow. Number 5. Calabasas. Once the shimmering enclave of Los Angeles wealth and celebrity prestige, Calabasas is beginning to lose some of its shine. The luxury housing market, long thought to be immune to economic shifts, is showing unmistakable signs of strain. Officially, home prices have slipped between 3 and 7%, but the real story isn't in the percentage, it's in the momentum of change. Properties that used to disappear within weeks are now sitting unsold for 120 days or more, gathering dust behind those ornate gates. Inventory has jumped more than 55% year over year, and price reductions of $150,000 are now standard practice, even among multi-million-dollar listings. The median home price in Calabasas sits at a lofty $2.3 million, yet the pool of qualified luxury buyers has thinned dramatically. At 7% jumbo loan rates, and with tighter credit requirements, even high-net-worth families are thinking twice before signing. Sellers are clinging to value, but the market dynamic has flipped. Demand is thinner than it's been since 2012. On top of that, the cost of ownership keeps ballooning. Annual property taxes often exceed $20,000, and insurance premiums have skyrocketed 70% since 2021, as wildfire zones inch closer to the Santa Monica Mountains. Even the wealthy are quietly heading for the exits. A growing number of homeowners are relocating to tax-friendly states like Nevada and Florida, where both insurance costs and property taxes are a fraction of what they pay here. Local realtors whisper of celebrity estates sitting unsold for over a year, while luxury rentals are taking a hit too. Rents are down 10 to 12% amid reduced demand from entertainment professionals and remote tech executives who once filled the area. The slowdown is rippling outward. Nearby Woodland Hills retail centers are reporting softening sales as high-income spending begins to dry up. On the surface, Calabasas still sparkles. Range Rovers hum through the hills, the gates gleam, and the palm trees sway in perfection. But behind those immaculate facades, warning lights are flashing. The luxury slowdown that began quietly in late 2023 is now accelerating. And when even California's millionaire playgrounds struggle to move homes, it's not just a market dip, it's a psychological shift. The era of fearless spending has given way to fearful holding, marking the start of a new chapter in California's unraveling real estate story. Number 4. San Jose. San Jose, the powerhouse of Silicon Valley, the symbol of innovation and wealth, is now facing its most sobering reckoning since the dot-com crash. On paper, home prices have fallen a modest 5 to 10%, but beneath that tidy statistic lies a housing market under immense strain. Inventory has exploded, up 80% year over year, and homes are now lingering on the market for 70 days or more, the longest stretch since the post-recession years. Sellers, once confident they could name their price, are now slashing listings faster than at any time since 2009 just to get attention. With a median home price of around $1.45 million, even high-income professionals are beginning to feel trapped. A typical mortgage at today's 7% rates pushes monthly payments above $8,000, and once you add property taxes and insurance, the true cost of ownership easily tops $9,000 a month. What was once a badge of Silicon Valley success has become an anchor of financial anxiety. The tech sector, long San Jose's golden goose, is no longer the safety net it once was. Layoffs from Google, Meta, and dozens of smaller startups have already wiped out roughly 20% of local buyer demand, especially among first-time professionals. The fallout is spreading fast. Rents have slipped about 7%, and luxury high-rise apartments that once had waiting lists are now offering 2 or 3 months of free rent just to fill vacancies. Meanwhile, office vacancy rates have climbed past 28%, hollowing out the city's downtown core. Corporate relocations, remote work, and a post-pandemic shift in business culture have gutted what was once a booming commercial landscape. The shockwaves are being felt everywhere. Restaurants, cafes, and local shops that thrived on tech employee traffic are closing their doors or barely scraping by. Even construction, the engine of Silicon Valley's growth, has slammed on the brakes. Building permits have dropped 45% year over year, and major developers are shelving projects until lending rates and materials costs stabilize. Adding to the strain, home insurance rates across the Bay Area have climbed 65% since 2020, making housing costs unbearable even for those earning 6 figures. For families used to stability, the sudden convergence of rising costs, declining equity, and job insecurity has created a new kind of pressure, quiet, relentless, and deeply unsettling. San Jose may not be crashing yet, but the signs are unmistakable: soaring inventory, shrinking buyer pools, falling rents, and tech sector fragility. A 5 to 10% price dip may sound like a soft landing, but in a region built entirely on high-income confidence, even a small fissure can trigger a landslide overnight. The Silicon Valley dream, once a symbol of limitless opportunity, is fading. Not with a dramatic collapse, but with a slow, silent unraveling, one unsold home at a time. Number 3. Modesto, California. Tucked in the heart of California's Central Valley, Modesto was once the poster child of attainable living, a place where families could buy a home, build roots, and enjoy a slower pace of life. But that picture is fading fast. On the surface, prices have dipped just 5 to 9%, yet behind that modest decline, nearly every key housing indicator is flashing bright red. Homes that used to sell within days are now languishing on the market for 80 to 100 days, and sellers are cutting prices aggressively just to generate interest. Inventory has surged nearly 90% year over year, the steepest increase since the 2008 housing crash. The market is flooded with listings, but buyers have all but disappeared. With the median home price around $440,000 and mortgage rates hovering near 7%, the math no longer works. The typical monthly payment for a modest home now exceeds $3,000, yet the average household income in Modesto is only about $74,000. That gap has paralyzed demand. Families that stretched their budgets to buy during the pandemic boom are now trapped, unable to sell without taking losses, and unable to refinance at lower rates. The ripple effect extends to construction. Builders who once couldn't keep up with demand are now canceling projects, delaying new developments, or dangling large incentives from $15,000 closing credits to free upgrades just to move existing inventory. Even the rental market, once Modesto's safety net, is cracking. Rents are down roughly 6%, and vacancy rates have climbed to a 10-year high. Investors, sensing the shift, are quietly pulling their money out, while foreclosure filings have surged 40% compared to 2023, an unmistakable early sign of financial stress. At the same time, Modesto's agricultural backbone is under pressure. Water restrictions, crop losses, and high fuel costs are shrinking farm incomes, which ripple through the local economy. Restaurants, shops, and small service businesses report falling sales as both consumer confidence and disposable income decline. Adding to the strain, property insurance premiums have risen 60% since 2020, with Central Valley wildfire risks driving costs higher each year. For many homeowners, it's simply becoming too much. Rising payments, shrinking equity, and little relief in sight. This isn't a sudden crash, it's a slow, quiet bleed that often comes before a major collapse. Modesto's 5 to 9% price decline hides deeper structural weakness, eroding affordability, growing defaults, and vanishing optimism. The cracks are spreading, and if statewide prices continue to fall, Modesto could become California's first domino in a broader housing unraveling, the city where the warning signs turn into the next full-blown crisis. Number 2. Orange County, California. For decades, Orange County symbolized the California dream, a sun-drenched mix of wealth, comfort, and coastal prestige. But beneath its immaculate lawns and oceanfront views, that dream is beginning to fracture. Officially, home prices have dipped only 3 to 8%, yet the deeper market signals tell a far more fragile story. Inventory has surged over 70% compared to last year, and the number of homes sitting unsold for 90 days or more has doubled since last summer. Even in prestigious enclaves like Irvine, Laguna Niguel, and Mission Viejo, sellers are slashing prices by $100,000 to $250,000 just to spark interest. The median home price still hovers around $1.2 million, but with mortgage rates near 7%, that translates into monthly payments exceeding $7,000, and that's before factoring in property taxes, insurance, or HOA fees. Meanwhile, the average household income of roughly $119,000 simply can't keep pace. Families that once stretched to afford the Orange County lifestyle are now maxed out on credit, struggling to cover essentials, and watching delinquencies quietly rise. The emotional toll is growing. What was once a dream address is turning into a financial burden. The rental market, long seen as a safety valve, isn't faring much better. Rents are down about 5% as thousands of residents pack up and move inland or out of state altogether, chasing lower costs in places like Riverside or Nevada. Investor activity has plunged nearly 40%, and new condo sales have slowed to a crawl. Even high-end builders, once unstoppable, are cutting corners, delaying projects, or halting construction entirely as buyer confidence wanes. The job market, another pillar of the region's success, is showing cracks. Layoffs in tech, finance, and real estate have spread from Irvine to Newport Beach, while tourism-based industries are struggling with global slowdowns and tighter consumer spending. Retail vacancies are climbing, especially along coastal shopping corridors that once thrived on steady foot traffic and luxury spending. Then there's the mounting weight of ownership. Home insurance premiums have skyrocketed 75% since 2020, and expanding wildfire risk zones, especially around Coto de Caza and Rancho Santa Margarita, are driving those costs even higher. Add in California's steep property taxes, and even affluent households are beginning to feel the squeeze. So while the headline numbers, a 3 to 8% decline, might sound mild, the underlying picture is unmistakably severe. Oversupply, collapsing affordability, shrinking investor interest, and rising job insecurity are all converging. On the surface, Orange County still shines with its palm-lined streets and luxury cars gliding through coastal neighborhoods. But beneath that postcard image, the market's foundation is cracking. The glamour remains, but the ground it stands on has never felt more unstable. Number 1. San Francisco, California. Once the crown jewel of American innovation and wealth, San Francisco now stands at the heart of California's unraveling housing crisis. The city that once defined prosperity, progress, and sky-high property values is watching its foundation erode in real time. On paper, home prices have fallen 6 to 10%, but the real story is far more severe. Demand has collapsed, and inventory has surged 110% year over year, signaling a massive imbalance between buyers and sellers. Some condominiums are now selling for 25% below their 2022 peaks, erasing years of equity gains. The once invincible San Francisco real estate market has become a case study in how fast confidence can disappear. The median home price, still hovering around $1.35 million, no longer reflects the true value of what people are willing to pay. Houses that once sparked bidding wars now sit 100 days or longer on the market. Desperate sellers are cutting prices by $100,000, hoping just to get offers, And as prices stagnate, downtown office vacancies have exploded past 36%, decimating nearby housing demand and forcing entire blocks of luxury condos to sit dark and empty. Developers, squeezed by financing costs and fading demand, are abandoning projects mid-construction, a sight once unthinkable in the tech capital of the world. The root of the crisis lies in a workforce that never fully returned after the pandemic. Tech layoffs, remote work, and corporate downsizing have gutted the city's core buyer base. San Francisco's population has fallen nearly 7% since 2020, draining local businesses, shrinking tax revenue, and leaving commercial corridors eerily quiet. Even the rental market, once a fiery pillar of the city's economy, is cooling fast. Average rents are down about 9%, and landlords are now offering months of free rent or deep concessions just to fill units. Property insurance costs up nearly 80% since 2020, and some of California's highest property taxes have driven both small landlords and large investors to retreat from the market. Beyond economics, the city's infrastructure, safety, and quality of life challenges have compounded the exodus. Once bustling retail districts now sit half empty, and nearly half of small businesses report lower foot traffic than before the pandemic. What used to be the bustling streets of Union Square and the financial district now reflect an unsettling quiet. The wealthy and mobile are fleeing, relocating to Austin, Miami, or Lake Tahoe, drawn by lower taxes, cleaner streets, and a sense of stability. Those who remain are watching the city's identity shift under the weight of decline. A 6 to 10% price drop barely scratches the surface of what's really happening. San Francisco's housing market isn't merely cooling, it's undergoing a structural breakdown. The once unstoppable engine of California's economy has stalled, proving a hard truth: when affordability collapses and confidence fades, even billion-dollar skylines can crumble. San Francisco is no longer a symbol of limitless opportunity. It's a warning to every Californian of what happens when dreams outgrow reality.